difficult.
So is it down to Pep? The game plan's not there?
I think it's just...
No, I don't.
I think it is down to players that are out. There's no doubt about that. But everybody's got injuries. But the legs in the team to play the way they've played for the 5 or 6 years he's been there are just not there at the moment. And you saw the difference when the pace came on from Savinho and particularly Doku. Now, the end product wasn't great. But they had a bit more pace on their side. But they're a difficult team to figure out just how you can go from being a team that was feared to a team that has basically lost its identity, which it has. And it looks frightened. They look frightened about losing goals every time they play.
His choices are tough, though. You look at that team. I mean, we're looking at Núñez on one side and Lewis on the other side of Haaland.
Yep.
And we're looking at Gundogan and Silva in the middle of the park. I mean, that is miles off Man City at their best. But yet, we're expecting them to be somewhere close to that. We all understand that we've got injuries, but we still expect a certain standard. But it's not reasonable to expect that, because you're expecting players to do things that they can't do. And unfortunately, Pep doesn't have the bench to make any changes and change that. And so the fact that they're playing against a side in Liverpool who are just at their very best, and who, I mean, Szoboszlai, McAllister and Gravenberch, the amount of coverage that they have in their legs compared to what City are able to do. So if you're losing the middle of the park, what chance have you got? You said Haaland didn't do anything. What chance has Haaland got of doing anything?
Right.
I mean, let's face it, they still won't cross a ball for him. Even when they've had no shots, nothing, even when they get an opportunity, they still won't cross the ball. They still want to keep it. And so sometimes it's what you know that strangles you. And the fact that they are so regimented in the way they play in terms of getting in wide positions and keeping it and going backwards and then going around. When you don't have the legs, certainly without Doku and Savinho on, then how are you supposed to beat your opposition? It wasn't until they made those changes that they actually looked as though they might create something. But then, as I said earlier, manager got it right, made the change, took Alexander-Arnold off when he was just beginning to flail, and Quansah came on and shut it down.
But you don't need... But the other side to that is the lack of physicality in legs are less of a problem, or should be, when Manchester City can keep the ball.
Right.
Which they are now struggling at against the better teams. I mean, they'll keep it against most of the weaker sides, like they did against Feyenoord in midweek until they imploded. But they were heavy in favour in terms of the possession stats. But if they could at least have kept the ball today and took the sting out of Liverpool, then that's at least goes some way to balancing out the players that are out. But they can't even do that now. And Liverpool pressed them and they just panicked. And they were giving it away, and then it was coming back, and it was coming back. So every facet of the game, their defending has been very suspect, and there were some changes today. Their passing and ball retention is nowhere near as good as it was, and they're not creating as many chances. They're just not.
The psychological swing, though, when you're in that situation that City are in, is that you're not as confident, you're not as slick, you're not as sharp, you're thinking all the time. You know, we spoke about Amorim last week talking about United overthinking. When you're not confident, you're thinking because you're trying to make sure, as opposed to playing. And when you're playing the opposition, regardless of whether it's Liverpool or anybody else this season, they understand that you're struggling. And so they're getting right in your face.
They got a boost as well.
Well, previously what you would do against City was you were stuck with if you go too tight, then you're at the game. But if you stand off too far, then they'll kill you with a passing. Now, nobody's bothered with that anymore. It's, we're going to squeeze the life out of them regardless of whether it's Liverpool, Leicester or anybody else, because this team are vulnerable. And when teams smell it, you're in trouble.
There's a bunch of other games this season they could have lost.
Oh, yeah, well, you go through the list, don't you, obviously?
A bunch of them where they were tight and, you know, they could have... I think it's Forest next they've got.
Yeah, they got Forest, and I think Palace at Selhurst Park in the Premier League.
I mean, if you're trying to get back on the horse to get winning again, I know Forest won at Liverpool, they won yesterday. They're having a very good season by their standards, but you'd expect City the next two games to pick up at least 6 points and get going again. can you imagine if we're still talking about them? Imagine 2 more defeats for them. And then do we get to the stage where, has he got the heart for it?
Well, that's it.
Has he got the desire for it?
Yeah.
I know he's signed a new contract, but is he going to chuck it when things are getting really tough? Or because if he does that, he's going to get a pile of criticism. When if he jumps ship,
Yes.
which I'm not suggesting he is, but he's cutting a. I mean, there's frustration, and then there's Guardiola.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're starting to almost tear the top of your head and all that, it's getting to you.
And the thing is, we haven't mentioned the back line yet.
Yeah.
We've been talking about the forwards, we've been talking about the midfield. That back line can't defend against anybody. Again, forget today, all season, they haven't been able to take care of anybody.
And let's take a look then at how the bookies have things set regarding who is going to win the title. No surprise, Liverpool are your favourites now. If you got on them at the start of the season, you're very much enjoying what you've seen so far. Manchester City remain 8-1. This is what Pep had to say about their title chances.
And at the end, you are a team, like, it's fantastic. At the end, we're not far away from Arsenal or far away from the teams there. But Liverpool will win all the games in the Champions League. In the Premier League, just lost one against Nottingham Forest here. That means how good they are doing, what they happen. Only we can do is accept it, congratulate them, and learn from them. But at the same time, still we are in November. We are not at the end of the season. Like many things, the decisions can be made more drastically. So I'm sitting here still defending what we defend, because this players, a group of players, gave me absolutely everything.
It would be surprising if he came out and said, look, it's over. We're not going to defend.
Well, he did say before the game they had to win.
Yep.
He's basically contradicting.
Is it over for City?
Yeah. I think it is for them, because I think it was Thursday we were in talking about it, and it was like, that's 11 points now. So you're looking at, for example, City would have to win every game, and Liverpool could afford to drop, basically lose 4 games, give or take, 12 points. So City are not going to win every game. I mean, Liverpool could probably, if you just take City, not Arsenal, Liverpool could probably lose, 6 or 7 games and still beat Man City.
Yes.
Because City will never, ever, they're not going to go the whole season and win every game. So that's a very good position to be in. I think there's much more chance Arsenal will put a run together. They've started already, so they might be able to put some pressure on. But on what we've seen, and particularly over the last 10 days to 2 weeks with Liverpool, they're the best side in the division at the moment. I don't think there's any doubt about that now.
Is City going to finish top 4 even, Stevie?
I'm hesitating, but I think so. I think they'll recover enough to get enough points, because what's going on behind them, it's all over the shop. Everybody around them is kind of eating each other right now. You've got to think that they'll recover to a certain standard, and they'll get more players back and get them fit and get them healthy, that they'll put some sort of run together at some stage.
They're getting in the
Not a run that's going to get them anywhere near the title, but let's be honest. Right now they don't look as though they can win a game against anybody. I mean, if they don't get the players back, what are they going to do?